Hello and welcome everyone to the week ahead commodity report for the 27th to the 31st of August 2018, presented by myself, Phil Carr, at the Gold and Silver Club. Today we will be taking a closer look at gold, silver and oil prices. Into the close on Friday, we did see a bit of a recovery here for commodities. Gold closing up 1.74% on the day, back above that important level of $1,200 per ounce, and silver closing up just over 2% on the day, finishing on Friday at $14.80 per ounce. One of the supportive factors for this bounce higher in metals prices on Friday was the weakness here on the US dollar index after dovish comments from Fed Jerome Powell. The US dollar came under pressure after comments from Jerome Powell at the Jackson Hole meeting, and it appears that the Fed is starting to lean towards a more dovish approach, which is taking the wind out of the US dollar's sails right now. And we can see that very clearly on the chart, where into the close on Friday, the US dollar started to pull back. So let's move over to the dollar index and we'll go through the price action here and what we can expect as we go into next week. The US dollar has settled at the 95 level into the close here on Friday. And if you have a look at the weekly chart here, you can actually see where last week the rejection candle that we formed right at the upper end of these channels has started to follow through. So we could be on track for a reversal as we go into next week if we get a break back below the weekly lows, and then that could lead to a move back towards the 94 to 94.30 zone on the chart. So I'll move over to the daily chart and you'll see exactly what I mean here. So the US dollar does look quite vulnerable here. It's finding support at the moment just above the midpoint here, the 50-day moving average and the weekly pivot. What I would look out for next week, because we do have a weaker close here, we've got a lower low, a lower high and a lower close, is the potential for this corrective move lower. We've also got a V-shaped reversal pattern here as well. So if the US dollar does break down below the weekly lows next week, that is likely where we would move back towards the next monthly pivot, which resides at 94.35. So the US dollar does look vulnerable here if we were to roll over further and break below the weekly lows here. We may encounter some support though if the US dollar holds at the 95 level, which will be an important psychological level of support as well. If we do hold at that level and springboard higher, we may then start to see buyers come back in, especially if we break back above the weekly highs here as well. Then it would look like just a continuation pattern to the upside. So it is at a decision point for the US dollar going into next week. We would need a bit more confirmation to suggest that we are going to start seeing a further correction back down towards the 94 level. A break below the weekly lows would really do that, and especially a close below that level would likely then see additional momentum to the downside. Now moving over to gold. Gold on Friday climbed back above $1,200 per ounce. It's interesting where it's found support. So it's right at the lower Keltner channels. We have a new buy signal which has now been generated as a result of this breakout on Friday. We have a bullish engulfing candle here as well, and gold was up just under 2% on Friday. And if you look at the weekly chart, we're starting to see a reversal as well. We would need to see a bit more confirmation to suggest that the low is in for gold. You can see very clearly where gold has been within this downward trending channel since April. It does need to break and close above that, but I would certainly watch gold going into next week because it has the potential, if the low is in, to start building up momentum to the upside quite quickly here, especially due to the fact that we've got a record number of sell short positions in the gold market at the moment. If those start to unravel and we see short covering, that is where we could very quickly see a breakout here for gold. Gold, in fact, on Friday did also climb and break back above the 21-day moving average and the monthly pivot as well, which would suggest that if we do get additional momentum next week, we could be on track for a move back towards 1217 to 1222. So I'm looking out for gold potentially going higher if we see the US dollar roll over further next week. But it does need to have more follow through, because gold has done this several times before where it will have a surge and a breakout, but then sellers will come back in, especially if we don't follow through next week. Then sellers come back in and drive the price back below the 1200 zone. Gold next week does need to provide more confirmation before it suggests the low is in. Also keep an eye on the correlations here as well. So for example, silver. Silver was the strongest of the metals on Friday. Silver up over 2% into the close. It has also broken back above some of this recent resistance, although silver continues to struggle to break above $14 and approximately 85 cents per ounce. We've got a bullish engulfing candle into the close on Friday. We have a new buy signal which is starting to generate right at the lower Keltner channels as well. We had this initial bear trap on Wednesday and Thursday where it looked like silver might be coming in for a retest back towards the swing lows here. here, which reside quite close to $14. However, we've seen this big turnaround in price. US dollar weakness also on Friday has provided more support to gold and silver priced in US dollars. What I would look at going into next week is whether silver will follow through. If you look at silver on the weekly chart, you have a inside candle and also a rejection candle which is formed. I would be looking out for the potential to break above the weekly highs going into next week, so essentially a break back above $14.85. If we clear and break and close above that zone of $14.85, then I would look for a move back towards $15. If we were to reclaim back above $15 from a psychological point of view, we could then springboard higher back to the $15.50 per ounce level, and that was the zone which we broke down from in mid-July here. Also note that the gold to silver ratio got as high as 82 to 1 last week, and since hitting that level we have started to see a reversal, and when the gold to silver ratio historically gets over the 80 to 1 level or higher, it favors silver's performance over gold, and we can actually see that into the close on Friday where silver's gains have outperformed gold, rising over 2%. Now moving over to crude oil, we covered both WTI crude oil and Brent crude oil in detail on Wednesday's mid-market report on the energy markets, and we've seen the exact move that we were looking for here. So we've seen a breakout back above the $68 per barrel level here for US oil. Since that analysis, WTI crude oil has rallied by more than 120 points. We've now established a long position on crude oil, which is moving well here. We found a bit of resistance here over the course of Friday when we had a revisit back towards the 50-day moving average. Likely we've seen some profit taking there, but we do have a strong close here. If we look at crude oil also on the weekly chart, you will see where we've got a bullish engulfing candle. We've essentially come back in to quite a lot of support here on the weekly as well, which goes back to the beginning of November of 2017. And we look with this close on Friday to be on track still for a move back towards $70 per barrel. That's the next key level that we're looking at for WTI crude oil as we go into next week here. So you can see it's been a favorable move for oil prices since the breakout that we had here on Wednesday. We've continued to follow through here on Friday, and into the close the price action does still look quite strong. So the anticipation would be going into next week, we may see a bit of consolidation just above the $68 per barrel level. Then the anticipation would be that we'll revisit $70 per barrel. And above that, if we can break above the neckline here and recent resistance, that's where we could start making a move back towards $72 and $73 per barrel for WTI crude oil. If you want to be part of a community of successful traders, then do join us at the Gold and Silver Club on our live trading room program. As a member of the Gold and Silver Club, you get access to live trade alerts. These are delivered via WhatsApp, email and SMS. You have access to mentorship, expert advice, in-depth market analysis and trusted insights, so you know earlier how to act quicker and maximize your return on every opportunity. For more information and details on how to join the service, just go to www.jointhelivetradingroom.com. The link is also below this report in the description. So just click on the link, make an application, and we will of course get in touch with you ASAP. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you will be kept updated with the latest commodity reports.